Coming up on the DLLS Mavs pregame show, the Mavericks look for 3 in a row, and the Don is back to help them out at the American Airlines Center. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single game night. At Kevin Gray Sports, at Bobby Carella. Our Mavs beat writer Tim Cato will be joining us during our next segment live from the American Airlines Center. You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. It is game night for your Dallas Mavericks. They are looking for 3 in a row as they take on the New Orleans Pelicans in game 2 of group play of the Emirates NBA Cup. Let us know how you're feeling about the Mavericks looking for their 3-game winning streak, which will be a season high for them tonight as they welcome in a very injury-riddled New Orleans Pelicans team. Bobby Carella, as the Mavericks back at home after spending some time on the road on Sunday against the Thunder.
Yeah, they won a couple games in a row, coming off their biggest win of the regular season, probably in a while. Vibes are good. They're playing a team that has no good players healthy. I'm a little worried, Kevin.
What you concerned about? Well, actually, you know what? We'll get into it over the next 30 minutes here on our DLLS Mavs pregame show. We're not going to do the show before the show, so we're going to do it right now. The Mavericks take on the Pelicans, 7:30 tip-off time at the AAC. You can watch the game on WFAA Channel 8 and KFAA Channel 29 if you're looking for the game on television. Mavericks 7-7 on the season, 5-3 at the AAC so far this year. Take on a Pelicans team that's 4-10 and 1-5 so far away from New Orleans. The Mavericks are a 13.5-point favorite tonight as they return home to take on New Orleans. In fact, the Mavericks are getting some help after a 1-game absence. The Don is back. Luka Doncic, after missing the game on Sunday against the Oklahoma City Thunder with the knee injury, he returns to take on the Pelicans tonight. In fact, Jason Kidd speaking on Luka Doncic's return and whether or not his early season evaluation is due to his injury or just the very nature of what basketball normally is. Here's what Jason Kidd had to say.
He has shown that he's human. I think some of us have forgot that he's human. And so the way that he's playing, he's 28-8. He's signed up for that all day long. We sometimes take, he's missed some shots. It happens. We're only 14 games into this. And so I think it's a legitimate question, but to give you a real answer, you would have to wait till June. But there's going to be bumps and bruises. There's going to be misses. There's going to be makes. But he's one of the best players in the world, and we're lucky to have him.
The Mavericks are indeed lucky to have him, as Luka Doncic will look to help this team get their first win in the group stages of the NBA Cup. Of course, the Mavericks 0-1 in group play after losing their first game of the NBA Cup last week to the Golden State Warriors in Klay Thompson's return game. Pelicans 1-0 so far in group play as they have beaten the Denver Nuggets in their first game of this tournament. But for the Mavericks, Bobby, a welcomed return for number 77 after missing the game on Sunday against the Thunder.
Is it really a welcome return?
I mean, if you love Luka Doncic playing basketball, yeah, I think it's a welcome return. I think I know where you're going, though, because
the other night we were sitting here on the post game after the Mavs beat the Thunder, and it was a great win, and honestly, it was a spectacular win for the Mavs. They've had 2 really good road wins this season. One at Minnesota and one the other night against OKC. And we were sitting around saying, I asked Mark, should Luka even play on Tuesday? If he's hurt, should he be playing right now? And Mark said, well, if there was any doubt that that playing on it would make it worse or that he was truly hurt, they would not play him in a regular season game, talking specifically about tonight against such a banged-up squad in New Orleans. They would not roll him out there unless they were confident that he was feeling really good and that he couldn't get any more hurt. But, dude, he's just not moving well. J-Kid made some points. Obviously, he's a great player. He's been very productive this season, but career lows in field goal percentage, career low, or second worst three-point percentage of his career low effective field goal percentage, lowest assists since the rookie season, lowest rebounds of his career. So it's like, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why he's got to play. I don't know why he's got to play, but hopefully he's all good. Hopefully it's all good.
I mean, I'm going to keep it all the way at 100. I thought that they would sit him tonight against the Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans are missing several of their key players. You were able to get the win on Sunday against Oklahoma City, so that maybe bought you a little bit of time coming home to take on the Pelicans, and then you have a couple days off before you travel to take on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. The opportunity to get him healthy within the season, those opportunities are very few, and this is one of them based off of what you're able to do on Sunday that may have given you the opportunity to do it. But we know Luka Doncic.
They don't play again until Friday.
Exactly. They don't play until Friday against Denver, but we know Luka Doncic is a competitor. He wants to be on the floor. But personally speaking, if I was managing Luka Doncic in this particular situation, I would say, hey, let your teammates go out there and handle business. They showed that they were capable of doing it against the best team in the West on Sunday. Give these guys another opportunity to do it tonight in a game that you should, operative word being should, win at home against this depleted Pelicans team.
Should.
Exactly.
You should win by a lot. Now, we did sit here on Saturday night, said the same thing about the Spurs. Said the Mavs should blow them out of the water to where by the fourth quarter, we're watching players that even we haven't heard of before. And that was pretty much true. Dallas was up 25 or whatever in the third quarter. Kyrie didn't have to play in the fourth. Kyrie, who did not play an entire quarter in the game, led the team in minutes. So tonight should be a game like that, but it's the Pelicans aren't just going to roll over or clip their own wings. You know, Mavs are going to have to go get it, and that's why I need them. We need them. The world needs them to have that same level of intensity, sense of urgency, energy, dialed-inness on both ends of the floor as they had in OKC the other night.
This is a key game for the Mavericks when you start thinking about the early portion of the season. After tonight, the Mavericks will head on the road for 7 of their next 9 games. Their only 2 games at home during that span will be on the 27th of November against the Knicks and then on December 3rd against the Grizzlies. The Pelicans themselves, they begin a stretch tonight where they play 6 of their next 8 games on the road themselves, and they're on the first night of a back-to-back because they'll be in Cleveland tomorrow night to take on right now what remains the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers. They're playing in the game of the night right now currently against the Boston Celtics, which gets us to Bobby Carella's scouting report on tonight between the Mavericks and the Pelicans. And Bobby, it is a very simple one for you when it comes to Dallas taking on New Orleans.
Don't F around because you don't want to find out. The Mavs, like, that's the whole bit, right? The whole bit among fan bases, like, the more guys are out for the other team, the more fans expect the Mavs to lose, especially at American Airlines Center. They've just had some stinkers. I mean, I remember back last season in January, the Mavs lost at home to the Pelicans, who didn't have Brandon Ingram, didn't have Zion, didn't have CJ McCollum, didn't have some other guys. Now, every single player in that game is either hurt or on a different team for New Orleans, except for Jeremiah Robinson Earl. But the Mavs have lost to the Pelicans at home in a game that they definitely should win. One of the other, maybe the single lowest point of the season last year was a home loss in December to Memphis when Jaren Jackson Jr. did play, but only 13 minutes. He left the game with foul trouble, and I think he got hurt in that game. John Morant was out. Desmond Bane scored 30 points, but some dude named Jalen Noel, who I have long championed as a very good player, came off the bench. I'm serious. Jalen Noel is like Jalen Noel was.
He's not doing a bit. No.
Jalen Noel was one of my guys in the 2019 draft. Now Jalen Noel had 19 points off the bench for Memphis in that game, which was his highest scoring game last season. Why does that matter? Well, Jalen Noel is in the Pelicans rotation tonight, and that dude loves killing the Mavs. 22-23, his 7th highest game of the season came against the Mavs. In 21-22, his 5th highest scoring game of the season came against the Mavs. In 2020-21, his 2nd highest scoring game of the season came against the Mavs. And there's guys like that on the every player on a roster belongs in the NBA. And so even though the Pelicans are the worst offense in the league on the road, even though they have the worst net rating in the NBA on the road, those guys still want to play. those guys still want to win. And the Mavs, unfortunately, especially early in the year, they have demonstrated over the years that, sometimes they can kind of take their foot off the gas, especially at home. And you don't want to have a situation where you're kicking yourself. So, I could tell you all about Yves Missi that you want. I could talk all about Brandon Ingram shooting more threes this year. But at the end of the day, it is just look across the court at the guy from you. Ask yourself, is he better than you? Almost every single position on this roster, including bench, the answer will be no. So the Mavs need to go out and prove it tonight. Go out and beat those guys.
The Mavericks should heed the warning of one Bobby Curley. Don't mess around and play with your food tonight at the American Airlines Center. The Mavericks taking on depleted New Orleans Pelicans team. No Zion Williamson. No Herb Jones was their best defender. No DeJounte Murray. No C.J. McCollum as well. The Mavericks are the healthier team and do have the size advantage as well with a healthy Derek Lively II and Daniel Gafford as well. Bobby started to mention some of the things when it comes to the Pelicans this year. Statistically, number 26 in the NBA in offensive rating at 108.3, number 28 in defensive rating at 117.2, number 27 overall in net rating at a negative 8.9 so far this year, and they're the fourth worst overall in plus minus at a negative 8.6, a team in the Pelicans that's in the bottom of a lot of statistical categories, whether you're looking at advanced statistics or traditional ones. The Pelicans just have not been a good team, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of injuries that they have suffered so far this year. But a team not to be taken lightly. Brandon Ingram still averaging nearly 24 points per game this season. Yves Missi, averaging 6.7 rebounds per game and over a block per game. And Trey Murphy III had 17 points in their win Friday against the Denver Nuggets. Brandon Boston Jr., he had a productive game as well with 19 points in their win against the Nuggets. So some guys that you've got to pay attention to if you're the Mavericks, namely Brandon Ingram, Bobby, who offensively is going to be the guy who's going to be running the show, or should be the offensive show, I should say, for the Pelicans in this game.
He's kind of like a point forward. It'll be interesting to see in the starting lineup. I presume you'd probably put PJ on him and Clay on Trey Murphy. Now, Trey Murphy's like a big transition athlete. He's going to pull up from three. He has range out to 30 feet, so you got to keep track of him. But Ingram is kind of like the head of the snake or whatever. He's going to be putting on the floor. He's a pretty good playmaker for a guy his size. Really good mid-range game, adept at drawing fouls, and this season he is shooting more threes. So, he's trying to become a complete offensive player. I don't know necessarily that the Pelicans have the kind of personnel to go mismatch hunting. Like, I think Luka has the foot speed. Kyrie has, kind of the ball instincts to guard Ingram one-on-one, to guard Trey Murphy one-on-one. So I think this is more just about, hey, don't foul.
Sure.
Don't foul. Make sure you get the rebound. Don't lose Murphy, especially in transition. And then, the Pelicans, all their best defenders are hurt right now. Literally all of their best defenders are hurt. And by best, I mean, they only have a couple. Even when they're healthy, they only have a couple. But right now, they're 28th in the NBA in defensive rating for a reason. They got a lot of guys out. Alvarado out, DeJounte Murray out, Zion, big body, he's out. So rebounder out. Herb Jones, great defender, out. Like, these are all the guys that they'd be counting on to guard Luka and Kyrie. None of them are playing tonight. They're all out. Like, I cannot express this enough. They're a horrible defensive team. Yeah. So prove it. Show us.
Yeah.
Show us how bad they are.
Mavs are playing their first of 4 games tonight against the Pelicans this season. The Mavericks and Pelicans split the season series last year 2 games apiece. The last time these two teams played, the Mavericks won at the American Airlines Center 125-120. Kyrie Irving had 42 points, and Tanner remembers, just like myself and Bobby does, Tim Hardaway Jr. that day had 41 points and 9 3-pointers in that game. They needed every last one of them that day because that was an offensive show. Luka Doncic did not play that particular day, but he is back tonight for the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic in the games last year against the Pelicans averaged over 29 points per game, shot nearly 49% from the field, 8 rebounds and over 7 assists per contest against the Pelicans. He likes playing against this divisional opponent. We'll look to see how he does tonight.
Yeah, you made a note earlier today, too. It's after this 7 of their next 9 are on the road or something?
That's right.
So, this is a classic trap game. Best win of the season, feeling super good, going up against a team, the bunch of guys that you've not necessarily sure are in NBA caliber players, and then all of a sudden you mess around and lose.
Yeah.
It gets pretty tough after this. You got to go to Denver after this. Then you got to go to Miami. Like, you got some tough games coming up. You're going to be spending a lot of time on airplanes. You're going to be spending a lot of time in hotels. this is the easy game, so do it.
Handle your business, damn
yes.
it. Handle your business.
I was trying to find a different way of saying the same thing I said the other night. Just be unsexy, be uncool. Just go destroy them.
Yeah, make it very business-like. I don't want to see any of the starters hardly in the fourth quarter. That's the kind of game I'm looking for if you're the Dallas Mavericks. More on this game coming up here in just a moment, plus Tim Cato live from the American Airlines Center with his pregame news and notes and what Jason Kidd had to say about his team taking on New Orleans tonight. But before we get there, we want you to become a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. Isn't that right, Bobby?
Yes. So that little QR, I'm going to go under that little QR code.
Hey, there you go. That was good.
As well as a link in the description or just alldlls.com/diehard takes you to a little website where you can join our legion of diehards here at DLLS Sports. And shout out to two people that signed up today. Shout out to DC and shout out to Steven, the two most recent diehards. What that gets you in exchange for less than $7 a month for a year, what that gets you is a free t-shirt right off the rip. We got more than 35 shirts to choose from, discount on any other shirts or hoodies or in the future hats that you might want. You also get access to all of our paywalled content, all of our premium written stuff, so post-game features, analysis, columns, opinions, film breakdowns, all that stuff that's on our website. Also, you get to join the DLLS Discord. The other night, Tim was paraphrasing or directly quoting a lot of the things I was saying during the game.
Yes, he was.
Which, made me feel a certain kind of way. But the Discords deserve to see it, man. I'm bringing my authentic self to work, and I'm bringing my authentic self to the internet, too.
Exactly.
So if you want in on the fun, again, little QR code down there or alldlls.com/diehard.
And when you do get your physical diehard card as well, show that off, tag us on social media, and we'll shout you out as well. Become a diehard member and join our DLLS Sports
That's
family.
right, Ben. Become a diehard. Be a cool person. I agree. They're hand in hand.
Speaking of family, we welcome in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato.
Hi, Tim.
You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. Tim, what's going on?
Nothing much. How are you guys tonight?
Pretty good.
Doing
Pretty
well.
It looked like
Let's
bread
make it
pudding
very
for
good
dessert
next time.
tonight. Is that true or is that false?
Is what dessert?
Bread pudding?
It's true.
God, I love bread pudding.
Yeah. How much?
When we talk about dessert on the show, that means we're expecting the Mavericks to handle business comfortably tonight.
Food.
And hopefully the Pelicans are food for this Mavericks offense because this defense for the Pelicans not very good. They'll get some help in the return of Luka Doncic after a one-game absence, what Jason Kidd had to say during his pregame comments.
Oh, I thought you were setting up a clip to be played.
Well, we played it earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a little behind the magic. I was like, oh yeah, here's that clip that you dropped in that I saw in our show notes. Yeah, Jason Kidd said that Luka's back. He didn't really say much beyond that. He said that he admitted when asked about it that yeah, his numbers are a little bit down from where they were last season, but it wasn't, it's Luka. He's back, and that was kind of the gist of it. Everything else, honestly, it was kind of a quiet press conference overall. There's a few things that stood out to me that I can go through that were unfortunately non-Luka related, but it's more stuff that just kind of affirms our priors. When asked about Quentin Grimes, he said he's settling into the system. He said he's comfortable with what we're asking of him, and then later on got asked directly whether he got the response of from that DMP or kind of was asked, quite frankly, this was by Mark Followell. It was kind of like, what was that about? I'm kind of paraphrasing here. And Jason Kidd said, you got to have patience, you got to have identity. But then he once again said that, the reason for Quentin Grimes not playing in that game was that they wanted to give an extended look to Jaden Hardy. So I don't know if his earlier comments from Kidd saying Grimes is settling into the system, that he's comfortable with what we're asking him to do. Is that a comfortable now? Is that now he's settling into it? Could that have been the reason? Could there have been something within that Jason Kidd just saw that wasn't being executed correctly by Quentin Grimes? I don't know if you want to read into it, but that's what I thought was the most interesting thing said from Jason Kidd.
It feels like the bench sent the message that it was probably intended to send to Quentin Grimes, and he has responded nicely obviously stepping into the starting lineup and being able to help out until Luka Doncic is returned. I mean, that's kind of one of the things when we start looking at some of the X factors for tonight's game. I mean, the bench for the Mavericks came to play against the Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday, a plus 25 against Oklahoma City. Daniel Gafford, a double-double with 11 and 12, his 7th straight game with at least 10-plus points. Obviously, Jaden Hardy had 13. Najee Marshall had 13. Overall, the bench, which hopefully we see quite a bit of tonight to keep it all the way 100, continues their strong play here in the recent last couple of games as they take on the Pelicans tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bench that the Pelicans would love to have right now. It's honestly, I think a lot of players coming off the Mavericks bench would be starting for the Pelicans in their current state. It's I kind of co-sign where you guys are coming from, that this Pelicans team is far more shorthanded than Oklahoma City was. And the Oklahoma City game was a good win, and you had to play well to win that game. But there was a reason Dallas won. It started with the fact that they had, their opponent had absences that, they went out there and they maximized on. They found ways to take advantages of that. And this is that same game all over again on easy mode. And if I'm Dallas, this should be a 60, 70 plus points in the paint sort of situation, sort of evening from them. And I quite frankly, that's what I expect to happen.
Again, the Mavericks a 13.5-point favorite tonight at home as they take on the Pelicans. Can PJ Washington, another thing potentially looking for in tonight's game, can he have an encore performance, a 27-point career high, 17 rebounds in the game against the Thunder on Sunday after getting his feet wet back in the lineup against San Antonio, coming off the bench, was back in the starting lineup on Sunday. PJ Washington looking to continue his strong play after the game on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be guarding Ingram, which I'm not sure he is, but however many possessions he spends on Ingram or Murphy, what I'm looking for is not can he get a steal, can he get a block, can he get a rebound. It's just don't foul. Just don't foul. And the same could be said for the bigs. The Mavs have been switching a lot more this year than they have in years past, 1 through 5, especially 1 through 4, but even 1 through 5. And Ingram is a very long, gangly guy. He can hold the ball way out here and then do this, and he's going to get a foul. He drives a lot. He's pretty aggressive, a lot of fadeaways where you're going to want to try and get out there and contest the shot. You're going to reach too far. So just don't foul. That's it. Just don't. I don't care how many rebounds he gets. I don't care how many stats he gets. Just please don't foul. Please don't foul.
Yeah, and he did a great job against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in 25 possessions that he guarded. SGA held him to 2 points in that game against the Thunder. Shout out to Joseph in the with the super chat.
Joining the elite ranks of the super chats.
With the $5 super chat, asks
JB.
Are Zion Williamson's issues still injury related, or did he just never develop into a superstar?
A lot of injuries with that guy, man. A lot of injuries, which is a bummer. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
he's extremely scary to watch.
He is the word I'll use, and I don't use it lightly, he's a violent player. Like, when he's on the floor, there is a real presence about him that you really want no parts of, especially when he's getting downhill in transition. Zion Williamson plays a very particular style that I don't know if his body is going to allow him to play through the duration of his career.
Yeah, second to last game before he got hurt, he had 34 points and 10 assists on 14 of 20 shooting.
It's just unreal. Unreal.
And I was talking to somebody around New Orleans, when the season started or a couple weeks into the season, and there was a genuine belief that this was the best shape he had ever come into a season. That really he did, above and beyond to make sure his body was right, and to get back to that player, he can be when he's healthy. And so maybe it's still that his style, that his body just can't hold up to that style, even if he's taking the best care of it. Maybe it's just unfortunate. Maybe it's just unlucky. Sometimes you just get injured. It doesn't necessarily, you can be at 100% of your athletic shape, your athletic ability, or you could be at 50% of it. There's still a chance to get injured either way. So definitely a bummer. He's a very fun player to watch, as you guys say. But yeah, no, I would say far and away his issues are injury related. When he is healthy, the only question with him is kind of how do you how do you build a team around him? But I think every team in the league, if you could promise health on Zion, would be willing to take on that challenge. Or every team without a superstar, they would absolutely be willing to take on that challenge of what does a contending team look like around a Zion superstar.
He's never played a playoff game. It sucks.
Oh, the play-in game doesn't necessarily count?
That does not count as a playoff game.
That doesn't count as a playoff game, so there you go.
This is a bummer. It sucks.
And the reason why I brought that up because I'm thinking about the game that they had against the Lakers. And the play, he was unbelievable in that game, but he left the game due to injury.
Yeah, and he missed that whole series. OKC, I think, swept them, right? It was a 4-0 sweep.
They did.
And I'm sure that OKC still would have won that series even if Zion was healthy, but it would have been sick to get him a little more tired going into that series against the Mavs. Thank you, Joseph, for the super chat. Real quick, Kevin, turning back the clock to that last season game when the Mavs lost at home to the Pelicans. One of the key players for the Pelicans in that game now plays for the Mavs, Najee Marshall. So how about that? Maybe a little revenge game for Najee Marshall tonight.
How the tables have turned with Najee Marshall.
Get some, Najee.
I'm sure he will look. I didn't even think about that. I'm glad you brought that up. A little revenge. This is his first game against the Pelicans since coming to Dallas. So a little more incentive for Najee Marshall. Of course, it started to carve out a nice role here on this team. Final X factor for me, based off of what we've got going on tonight. Can the Mavericks, and Tim and Bobby brought this up in our last show, can the Mavericks utilize their size once again to dominate this Pelicans team, especially on the glass? We saw what they were able to do against Oklahoma City, a plus 24 on the glass overall, out-rebounding Oklahoma City 53-29, plus 11 on the offensive glass, and a plus 13 on the defensive glass. Tim, this should be an opportunity for this Mavericks team to take advantage of the Pelicans on the boards tonight.
Big man jump tall. In the words of a known poet of our generation, one of the best basketball minds, that's what comes to mind right now is just big man jump tall, be big, strong, bully.
Very caveman-like.
Daniel Tice, despite this rash of injuries that the Pelicans are facing, has been DNP-CD'd.
I'm about to say, he can't get on the floor at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, it's Yves Missi, who's had a good rookie year. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who's more of backup 4, and then Trey Jemison the third, a 6'10" center who he's just not a super productive player. Daniel Gafford coming off the bench tonight. You're going to be guarded by those guys. Like, what do you got for me, man? We saw what he did to Charles Bassey. We saw what he was able to do to the Thunder's backup 2 guard that was guarding him for some reason. Like, Daniel Gafford might lead the team in scoring tonight. Like, that's what I want him to play with, that kind of aspiration.
Yeah. Like,
I want to see Daniel Gafford and Mike Marshall play one-on-one.
Ooh, Gafford would beat his ass.
I know. That's why I want to see it.
That's why he just wants to see it. We love our guy, Mike Marshall. Shout out to Mike, man.
Do we?
What'd you say?
I said, do we? If I'm really suggesting Gafford plays against him?
Why not? It'd be good TV.
Yeah. I do. I personally do. But yeah, he would stuff him in the rim probably.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because Lively's going to spend a lot of his time on the floor with both Luka and Kyrie.
Yes.
So Luka and Kyrie are going to be doing their thing. But whenever it's just one of them, Gafford is like the offense.
Yeah.
Gafford needs to eat. And he's looking at their depth chart, and he's,
please don't ever
and
do
just
that again.
yesterday, I was pointing out.
Isn't that what he did?
That was.
I was pointing out how Gafford
and
always
did it
has
again, and he did it again. Yeah.
I was pointing out his usage rate, and Bobby was like, "Well, I think it's too high." How you change your tune, Robert?
Well, I'm
well, the
not
Golden State game, we was doing a lot.
Yeah,
we was doing a lot with the Gafford.
What I was saying when it's too high, yeah, they're trying too hard to get him the ball.
Yeah.
Once he has the ball, go big man, do big thing.
Yeah.
Dunk ball in basket, in rim, in net.
Speaking of Golden State,
I accept your apology.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Klay Thompson, 5 threes. Love to see that tonight.
Attempts or makes?
Makes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, if he went 5 for 5 and sat, the rest of the game, I mean, that's cool too. But we'd love to see Klay Thompson get on track. Only made 1 3, only made 1 shot in its entirety in the game on Sunday against Oklahoma City. Would love to see. Yeah, I know, right? Not necessarily.
Also, you would love to see, if you're a Mavericks fan, you want to see a big margin of victory, because the NBA Cup is more important than anything that we've ever competed in our entire lives.
Yeah, Well said, Tim.
And they
Well
are,
said.
what are they?
You're welcome.
They're
13.5 point favorites tonight.
and -3 in terms of point differential, which is the tiebreaker after record. So if they win by like 50, they're in prime position.
They're in good shape. They're in good shape.
If it's a 50-point game, if it's not a 50-point game and Luka Doncic isn't still playing in the fourth quarter, I'm going to be annoyed at Jason Kidd.
Yeah, you got to play them all 48 tonight.
Luka can get a break once they're up 50, but not any sooner. It's too important for the cup.
Some Mavs fans would tell you that if Luka plays, they'll lose by 50.
All right, that means it's time to go. Tim,
We'll get back to that on the post game.
Yeah. We appreciate you reporting.
Kevin's like, we're getting too close to the actual truth.
Yeah,
I gotta end this now.
Our mics are cut off.
We wouldn't want that. Wouldn't want that. Tim, appreciate you being able to talk to you post game, man.
Bye, Tim.
There he goes. Our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato from the American Airlines Center. He'll be back with us post game from the arena, as well as our national NBA insider Mark Stein after the game is over with. We'll be back 15 minutes after the final buzzer as the Mavericks host the Pelicans, looking for a season-high 3-game winning streak as they take on the Pelicans at the AAC.
Hey, this was a great pregame show.
Thanks, Bobby. Great job, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Tanner, handling your business.
Let's keep the vibes high.
Let's keep them high tonight.
Until the end of the fourth quarter.
We'll talk
Just
to
kidding.
you
Mavs roll, baby.
on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.